Who's more of a fraud, the Broncos or the Eagles? Going to be interesting to find out this Sunday. I think it's going to tell us a lot about. Again, I'm your host, RJ Cash, Break the Board Sports. Click that like, hit subscribe. 2 to 3 pieces of handicapping content a day coming out for you. We're going to get into that Broncos Eagles matchup, but just want to touch on 2 other NFL games first. Let's go to London Bridge falling down the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns. Let's hop into the handicap for this one. Right now, the line is up to Minnesota -4.5. You're over under 36.5 with these 2 amazing defenses in the Browns and the Vikings. Browns going to go with rookie quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Not sure what the Browns are doing, but it's going to be very interesting. I've heard a lot about his legs and how it's going to help extend plays. But against that Brian Flores defense, with on top of that, Minnesota having the advantage of being across the pond the whole week, be interesting to see how this one works out. But again, Minnesota -4.5, over under 36.5. Let's help you with your handicap here. 58% of tickets and 87% of the handles on the Browns. A lot of love showing up for the Brownies. 42% of bets, but only 13% of the handle on the Vikings. So as the way it looks right now, books are going to need the Vikings. But again, it's on Thursday. That could change. You're over under 36.5. 81% of the money is on the under, which can be expected with these 2 defenses. Again, Cleveland and Minnesota, 2 of the best in the league. The over getting 19% of tickets right now. Minnesota 2-4 ATS their last 6 games overall. Had that blowout of the Cincinnati Bengals and then didn't get treated so well in their game last week. But against the spread, 2-4 ATS their last 6. Now, straight up, they've been great. 11-4 straight up their last 15. 7-2 straight up head-to-head when these 2 teams meet. The Vikings have the advantage. The over, remember we talked about a lot of love for that under 36.5. The over is cashed for the last 6 games for the Vikings away from home. Vikings 9-3 straight up their last 12 games in October for them. The Browns 2-8 ATS their last 10. They got that miracle needed so many things to go right win against Green Bay at home, and then went to Detroit and got their doors blown off. The under has cashed 7 of the last 9 games that Cleveland's played in, and they're just 1-9 straight up their last 10. What's even more concerning is they don't like Sundays. Maybe they should go to church because they're 4-12 ATS their last 16 games on Sunday. So a lot there. That 1-9 straight up is really hard to wrap your head around when you're looking at this team for sure. For Cleveland and Minnesota, they haven't matched up head-to-head since 2021. That was a game in which the Browns were able to take a 14-7 win in that game. When I look at this, it's pretty standard here. You got 2 teams, 2 great offensive minds, right? Kevin O'Connell, Stefanski of Cleveland. They bring a lot of good things to the table. But when I look at this game, I can't lay 4.5 with Minnesota, but I think Minnesota is a prime play for your money line parlays that you may have out there. Again, Minnesota and Kansas City, I could see. Minnesota and the Rams Thursday night, I could see. Minnesota with a Buffalo or something, some kind of team, because the money line's -$2. You can't lay $2. You'll get destroyed juice-wise. But I do think Minnesota wins the game. I'm just not comfortable laying 4.5 to anybody. Again, all these games, I say this and I preach this. When you're handicapping a game, just remember all these games typically come down to the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game, definitely in the last 5 minutes. So again, just something to think about there. But again, no play for me. I might throw them in a money line parlay card somewhere along the way, but that'll be about it. Miami Dolphins at the Carolina Panthers, and this is a very interesting one. I know Miami looked like they got back on track. However, Tyreek Hill going down. Right now, Miami is laying 1.5. You're over under 45.5. Now, pretty wild. 95% of the money is on the under 45.5, only 5% on the over. I always talk about this. Depending on where you want to be at, there's always important to have rules in handicapping, right? You have thresholds. So when you're looking at betting splits, and you can't bet strictly off betting splits, you can't do that. But you do have to set a number and a rule for yourself, whether it's 10%, 20%, 30%. When it's getting that or less, where you have to fire. Again, you're not going to win them all, and people say you can't bet solely that way. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can bet and you can handicap. But the reality is if you're on the book side way more than the public side, they build these nice, beautiful, huge casinos and give away all these free 50%, 30% profit boosts to get us to bet more. So who's winning, public or books? So again, worst case scenario, I'd rather be on the side of the books way more than I am the side of the public. Not saying that attracts all of my handicapping, but it does go into a piece of it. Miami laying that 1.5, 57% of the money is on the Panthers, 43% on the Dolphins. But what's funny is lower percentage of money on the Dolphins, but higher ticket count, 61 to 39 right now. When I dig into this game, just a couple trends want to give you here. Miami 1-4 straight up their last 5 games with that win against the Jets. They're 7-1 against the spread their last 8 versus Carolina. Carolina, though, has been a cover machine despite 3-8 straight up their last 11. They're 9-4 ATS their last 13. The over is cashed 4 of the last 6 times these two teams have hooked up. And the over has cashed 6 of the last 8 games Carolina has played in overall. Darren Waller, looking like the Darren Waller of old, certainly helps Miami. But again, the Jets had chances to win that game. Let's not act like Miami played this world-class game. They were lucky to get out of there 27-21. And then the Buffalo game, 31-21, they were in that. New England, they were in that game, lost 33-27. If not for Ashan stepping out of bounds with a toe there, maybe they win that game. Carolina, on the other hand, they've just been absolutely all over the place. All right, they get waxed by Jacksonville. Then they were getting waxed by the Cardinals. That 27-22 score isn't as indicative as how much dominance was in that game. We had Carolina plus the points in that game. Again, last week in the NFL, we finished up 16-2 on our unit plays. So we ended the week up 13.37 units. So it was a good week in the NFL. But then they go and they wax Atlanta, and then they come back and they get waxed by New England. So it seems like in every other game occurrence here with Carolina, I think the short price with Miami minus the 1 would be the lean here for sure. Again, I would wait, see how that line moved, but definitely when you're looking at it right at this point in time, the Dolphins have got to be the team you lean here. Now, the minus 1.5, minus 1 in some spots, I don't know if I go that way. I think a minus 115, minus 120 on the money line because, again, with these two teams, anything is live. Let's hop into that Broncos Eagles game because that's why you guys are truly here. Click that like, hit subscribe. Again, we have 2 to 3 pieces of content each and every day. Which one of these teams are phony? And you say, well, RJ, what do you mean? How are these two teams phony? They're good teams. You know, Denver 2-2, if not for a BS call against the Colts, they're 3-1, and Philly's 4-0. Yeah, but records, you know, Bill Parcells, you say your record is which you are. But when I look at this, Denver, you beat up a bad Cincinnati team 28-3, right? And then the Chargers, you know, Chargers are starting to get decimated by injuries. I'm not sure how good they are. That Colts game, yes, they should have won that. That stupid call at the end. Tennessee, they were on the struggle bus with Tennessee, though, for a latter part of that game. So I'm not really sure how good Denver really is. Like, their 2 wins, 20-12 and 28-3 over Tennessee and Cincinnati. How good are they really? I don't think we really know. Did Bo Nix look sharp Monday night? Absolutely did. I do know this. Denver's defense is absolutely legit. I won't shy away from that whatsoever. I absolutely love Denver's defense and what they're bringing to the table. They're only giving up 285 yards per game and only 16.8 points per game. So very stout there, 16.8 points a game as to where Philly's giving up 22 points a game. Denver, they're averaging 24 points a game. The Philadelphia Eagles averaging 27. So the line's about right where it should be. Now there's some 3.5s, there's some 4s, and there's some 4.5s out there. So a lot of different ways to play this. These two teams haven't met since 2021. So it's irrelevant because the Broncos had a different coach, had a different starting quarterback. So you can't really take a whole lot. You can't take a whole lot out of that trend-wise. A couple other trends, though. The Eagles, they've been absolutely soaring in the second half. They've hit the second half money line 16 of their last 20 games. That's good for 10.08 units, up a 28% return on your investment. Again, always excuse my pit bull and my golden doodle. They love Amazon and mailman. Broncos, they're 12-8 straight up over their last 20. You would be up 3.75 units following that. Now, Broncos have covered the spread. They're 13-8 ATS over their last 21. That would put you up 4.3 units. The first half over, right now, that first half over under is at 21.5. First half game total over. Games that the Broncos have participated in, they're 16-5. 16 times it's went over the first half total. You'd be up 10.15 units, about a 41% return on your investment there. The Eagles, when we talk about the Broncos right there, when you're the Eagles, I don't know how good the Eagles are. Obviously, they got all the drama with A.J. Brown and whatnot. But you look at that Dallas game that started off the year, and you have to be concerned. They win that game 24-20. Okay, first game of the year, division game. But, Carter's out right at the beginning. Dallas has the whole Micah Parsons thing. CeeDee Lamb, Dallas should have won that game. CeeDee Lamb dropped a ton of balls. Then they go to Kansas City. And I know if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk. I get that. But Kelsey catches that touchdown. The Chiefs win. Instead, he fumbles it. It hits off his hands, gets an interception in the end zone. Then the Rams. Let's be real. The Rams were dominating the Philadelphia Eagles for 3/4 of that game. Eagles get back into it, and even at the end, get a miracle field goal block and then return it to the house to get the cover in that game. And then you look at last week against Tampa Bay. Now, they did dominate Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay, they were more of the Philadelphia Eagles trying to crawl back into it late as the game went on. So I just look at that and I'm like, Philly, yeah, they're 4-0 and they're 3-1 against the spread, but how good are they really? Like, Dallas has a bad defense. The last 3 defenses they've played have been pretty stout. I already fired on the Broncos plus 4.5 earlier. I also have them in a 10-point teaser. Again, we have our teaser show coming out later today. That 10-point teaser had Denver plus 14.5, the San Francisco 49ers plus 18.5, and the Baltimore Ravens plus 11.5. Just things I feel like are great value. 49ers, that line's gotten totally out of control. The Rams aren't going to walk the dog on Kyle Shanahan, 10-6 straight up against Sean McVay. That's a division rivalry. 49ers will run the ball, bleed the clock, try to get the game into the fourth quarter. They'll stay within 2 scores. 18.5 is ridiculous. Again, a 3-team 10-point teaser, you can get that about minus 135. So 49ers plus 18.5, Denver plus 14.5, Ravens plus 11.5. I gave that out as a double unit play. And I'm also playing the Broncos plus 4.5 here. Philly may get the win, but I think Denver holds on. Philly's defense also hasn't been, world beaters in this thing. It's not like they've been lighting the world on fire either. Denver and Philly head-to-head, 4-2 ATS Denver is against the Eagles. So they've had the upper hand now straight up. Totally different story. 4-8 straight up the last 12 games against the Philadelphia Eagles. Denver hasn't been very, very well. Covering is like Philly. They have covered. Philly, 5-1 ATS their last 6 games. The over has cashed 5 of the last 7 games the Eagles has participated in. And Philly right now is on a 10-game winning streak, 10-0 straight up dating back to last year. Head-to-head, when these two teams lock horns, the over has cashed 7 of the last 8 times that they've hooked up. Betting split-wise, 70% of tickets are on the Eagles, 30% of tickets on the Broncos, 69% of the handle is on the Eagles, 31% of the handle on the Broncos. That over under 43.5, overwhelming support for the over, 73% of tickets, 86% of the handle. Again, I like that only 30% of tickets and bets are swaying to the way of Denver. I got them 4.5. There's the lines all over the board. Again, having multiple outlets to bet is better because you can find if you're stuck in one book, you're never going to be at an advantage. You need to have 2 or 3 on lines. You need to have a local guy, an offshore guy. Like, you just got to make sure you're covering all your bases. If you want to be a successful handicapper and a successful bettor, you have to have different avenues to place these bets in. So, again, 2 plays, 3 units on the line total. Broncos plus 4.5, 3-team 10-point teaser for a double unit, San Francisco plus 18.5, Denver plus 14.5, Baltimore Ravens plus 11.5. Again, click that like, hit subscribe. Check out our teaser show today. Also, check out our 49er Los Angeles Rams Thursday night football breakdown. I think you're really going to like it. 2 to 3 pieces of content a day come out to help you become a better handicapper. If you don't want to handicap and you just want plays, breaktheboardsports.com. Click on our packages. You can get every play across every sport for $1.37 a day. Starting next week, the NHL season starts. So we'll have an NHL show every day, an MLB show every day, breaking down the day's games with the playoffs coming. Great day for us yesterday, 5-0 in MLB bets. Then we have an NFL show and a college football show. So starting next week, you're going to get at least 4 pieces of content a day. Again, Break the Board Sports, giving you stats, trends, not a lot of opinions, and a lot of talking and paragraphs, just quick hitter trends to help you become a better handicapper so you can decide what to bet on your own instead of following a bunch of touts. Again, breaktheboardsports.com. Click that like, hit subscribe.